Lisa here from Cool Kids Hub. So today I wanted to talk about babies' naps and when do babies actually drop their naps. Now, naps is probably one of the most challenging part of a baby's sleep for parents. Either babies, their naps are very erratic. A lot of parents find their babies' naps are very short. They're very inconsistent and unpredictable, and especially in those first few months. And then all of a sudden, babies start to get a little bit of predictability and routine to their naps. And then lo and behold, what happens? They start fighting naps again. They start having erratic naps or short naps. And that's when parents start to think, is now the time for my baby to drop a nap? Now, there is no scientific data that says a baby should have X number of naps at X age and should sleep for so many hours, because every baby and young child is different. Some babies will take less naps but for longer periods, whereas others will take more naps, each nap being a shorter duration. However, there is an average number of naps generally that a baby will take by age and an average number of hours of sleep. So let's have a look at that. If your baby, obviously when they're newborn, their number of naps will be very varied. They will sleep lots of naps and there's no predictability or routine to that. And they'll generally sleep between 7 and 9 daytime hours, depending on what time their bedtime or nighttime sleep is. Now, once they kind of get to that 2-month mark, they'll generally sleep between 3 and 5 naps, again about 7 to 9 hours, depending on bedtime. When they get to that 3-month mark, again, still 3 to 5 naps, but their daytime sleep generally comes a little bit less, between 4 and 8 hours, again, depending on what time they go to bed at night. Around that 4-month mark, they'll sleep 3 to 4 naps, and this will be made of about 3 to 6 hours of daytime sleep. When they get to the 5 to 6 month mark, they'll generally sleep 2 to 3 naps, and this can be anything from 3 to 4 hours in daytime sleep. And then between 7 and 12 months, which is a big period, but most babies in that chunk will take around 2 naps, and this can be anything from 1 to 2 hours a day. And then from 12 months onwards until they drop their last nap, they'll have 1 nap, and again this will be anywhere from 1 to 2 hours in duration. So when do babies actually drop their naps? Well, the first nap drop normally happens between 3 and 4 months. And this is when they'll go down sort of from 4 naps to 3. And for most babies, this is pretty much a non-entity. They just drop the nap and that's it. The next nap drop, which is sometimes a little bit more of a challenging drop, can happen anywhere between 6 and 12 months. And this is when they'll go down from 3 to 2 naps. Now, some babies are ready to drop that nap at 6 months, and generally if your baby takes naps, longer naps of like 1.5 hours in duration, you might find they're ready to drop that nap at the 6-month mark. But the majority of babies do still need a nap up until the 9-month mark. And what you might find is that this last nap almost becomes like a little bit of a cat nap or a nap on the go, because they're starting to be able to tolerate a bit longer, but they can't quite make bedtime. So they often will nap because you're walking or you're in the car. Now, I'm not saying do that to get them to do the last nap. I'm just saying in that transition period, you might need to be a little bit flexible with bedtime, in terms of when that bedtime is, either bringing it forward or pushing it out later. But finally, you'll drop that last nap and then get their bedtime back to sort of that 7 to 7:30 mark. Now, the next nap drop generally happens between 12 and 18 months, and this is when they'll go down from 2 to 1 nap. Now, again, you might find at this stage, because they can tolerate longer, they'll start to fight naps. And some babies even start to show signs before 12 months of fighting sleep. However, before 12 months, I really wouldn't recommend trying to rush and drop a nap, because generally before 12 months, they really do need those 2 naps. But between that 12 and 18 month mark, you will find that your baby generally now starts to transition from 2 naps down to 1. And when this happens, it's normally that morning nap that will be the first one to drop. And when that happens, you'll obviously have to bring your afternoon nap a little bit forward, and you might also find you need to bring your bedtime forward a little bit just for the first few weeks until they get used to that longer awake time. So generally from 18 months, your baby will stay up until 3 years. They'll kind of have one nap. Now, some babies might try and drop that nap before 3 years old and kind of fight it, but my recommendation would be that you don't really drop that nap until they're after 3. And even if they fight it, because let's face it, at that age they just want to play, put them in a dark room, encourage them to sleep, let them rest a little bit, but don't just let them drop that nap, because they think they don't need to nap, but they really do need that sleep. Generally then from sort of 3 to 5 is when your baby will, your toddler will actually drop that last nap. Now, some children will sleep right up to 5, but the majority kind of drop that last nap between 3 and 4 years old. So what are some of the signs that you can look for that your baby or toddler is ready to drop their nap? Well, the first sign is that the last nap is starting to interfere with bedtime. What often happens is you find you start running out of time to get that last nap in, and that last nap is becoming shorter and shorter, 10-15 minute cat nap, or it's really starting to interfere with bedtime and you're having to push your bedtime out. If that is happening, chances are your little one's ready to drop a nap. The second sign that your little one's ready to drop a nap is that your nap times really start to become a struggle. So if you used to put your little one down for a nap and he or she was asleep really pretty quickly, and now all of a sudden it's taking them like 20 minutes to fall asleep or longer, first thing to do is try and extend their awake windows a little bit, making sure that you're still looking out for their tired signs, because you don't want them to get overtired, but push that awake window and see if that helps them to then go to sleep a little bit sooner, which then again leads to the first problem, which you might run out of time for that last nap. So if those nap times are becoming a struggle, you might just need to, that's another sign, because they're taking so long to go to sleep, that it's time to potentially drop a nap and start moving out their nap times by extending their awake windows. So the third sign that your little one is ready to drop a nap is that maybe you had a baby or young child that really slept well, slept for good chunks of time, would easily link their sleep cycles together, and all of a sudden they're not linking their sleep cycles, they're actually waking up after only one sleep cycle. And it's probably because they're not tired enough to go back to sleep again. Remember that, babies, and as their sleep cycle matures, they start to link those sleep cycles together. That's what gives them the longer naps. And if your baby has started to settle into that, or your toddler, and they are, linking their sleep cycles, and all of a sudden they start going back to shorter naps, that might also be a sign that it's time to drop a nap. Sign 4 is that all of a sudden they're protesting bedtime, and maybe even waking up in the night and starting to wake up early in the morning. So again, if you had a baby that or young child you put down to bed and they went to bed, and all of a sudden they're protesting going to bed, maybe even waking up a little in the night or waking very early in the morning, which can really feel like the middle of the night, then it might also be a time to consider dropping a nap, because they might actually be getting too much daytime sleep, and hence the reason they're not sleeping as well at night. And then the final sign to look out for is if there have been sort of any of these other things you've been seeing for 4 to 5 days a week, for around 2 weeks, then that's probably a sure sign that now's the time to consider, dropping a nap. Now, if you want to know because when your baby drops a nap, there is obviously a transition period where your little one needs to adjust. So if you want to just get some tips on how to transition, you can check out my other video that tells you how to deal with nap transitions. And I'll put the link to that video in the description to this one. Good luck with the dropping of naps. When they drop their naps, I know it's not an easy time. It can be quite frustrating, but just look out for those signs, making sure you're not letting them get overtired. And after a couple of weeks, they do settle into that new routine with the new number of naps. That's it for now. Bye till next time.